What's up everyone, and welcome back to the channel. So first off, I want to apologize for the lack of movie reviews over the past few weeks. I have been getting back into them, and I will be doing my best to upload them on a more regular basis. Obviously, you've been seeing I have been uploading daily content as far as horror news updates, trailer reviews. We've been doing some more live shows on a more frequent basis. So the movie reviews have taken a bit of a backseat, but I am getting back into those. There's just a lot of content, as you can imagine, to watch between movies and TV series. So I'm trying to balance them both, trying to get back into after taking a couple weeks off, trying to get back into the routine of watching roughly 2 to 3 horror movies a night, and then, alternating it between a TV series that we are going to be doing some reviews on as well. Some TV series, like the new Kevin Bacon one that's on Amazon Prime. It's 8 episodes, but it is very short, so be on the lookout for those coming as well. But just wanted to say a quick apology for the movie reviews kind of taking a back seat, but we're going to start getting back into those. So I would also like to thank many of you as far as providing some feedback into the comment section when it comes to movie reviews on some things you would like to see included in those. I am doing my best to implement some of those changes just to allow for a better viewing experience, whether that's some of the background noise, adding some clips and images into the review as well. Again, just to add a bit more to the context of my review and my thoughts on the film. All right, so just wanted to lay that out there before we jump into this movie review. So with that said, for this movie review, we'll be discussing the film Gothic Slayers, as you see here on the screen. So this film, just a bit of background real quickly, was directed by, and I hope I get these names correctly, I'll do my best to pronounce them the best that I can. The film was directed by Caleb Harris, and not only were the writers for the film, but both Dylan Eshbaugh and Ben Getz, again, hopefully I'm pronouncing those names correctly, also starred in this as well, along with many other people who were in the film, but those two are the primary characters for the film. So you may recall we did do a trailer review and reaction for this film back on February 12th, and as you all have heard me say, as far as when it comes to as far as comes to black comedy or horror comedy films, I am good with those films. I'm okay with those films as long as the film knows that that's what it is. It leans into it and it doesn't shy away from it. What I'm not a fan of is horror films that are supposed to be serious horror films, and I try to insert comedy into their film where it just it doesn't belong. It's not organic. So this film, as you may have guessed, as you can probably kind of gather from the poster here, it is considered a black comedy or horror comedy film. So just want to set that foundation up front. So this film was released in the US. I'm not sure as far as international wise its availability, but I know for the US it did become available on March 4th, 2025. So I felt now it being April 6th, enough time has passed. I thought this would be the appropriate time for me to do the review, just in case I provide any spoilers. It's been roughly a month, so for many of you may have already seen it if you had planned on seeing it. So I usually try to wait a few weeks after new releases come out before doing a review, because I tend to start talking about spoilers, and again, I don't want to ruin the film for anybody. So with that said, I want to be clear though, we will be talking some spoilers from this point forward. I do my best to ensure that I provide that warning verbally, along with the visual indicator that you see below me, below the camera, that it does indicate spoilers. So if you have not seen this film and you plan on doing so, just be aware we may be talking some spoilers. Also, moving forward, I'm going to be trying keeping the movie reviews between 8 to 12 minutes, unless I mention otherwise at the beginning. So I'm going to try and keep them pretty tightened up and short, just to allow, again, for a better viewing experience. So, all right, so let's get into this. So the first thing I'm going to mention about this film, which was something I called out during the trailer review and reaction, and in my opinion was done very well, was giving you that early mid 1990s feeling between the outfits, the type of friendship between the main characters Ben and Dylan, the music and score that was used throughout, even down to the activities that the two of the main characters partake in, whether that's retro video games, mini golf, things of that nature, going to get ice cream after work. I mean, those are things that pretty much were kids did in the 80s and 90s. The other thing I did also like that was done throughout this film, because they were sticking with that 90s vibe, they, for some scenes of the film, they inserted this 90s retro like video game aspect. So instead of you watching like real life people play out the scene, you actually saw this video game aspect playing the scene out, which I thought was pretty creative and was a nice touch. Again, because we're sticking to like this 90s theme, they used what was to look like a 90s video game portraying the characters and portraying what was happening in the film. So I thought that was very creative. I thought that was a nice, just something very different you don't see in films in general, let alone a horror comedy film. So I felt that was, and I felt all of that to round out was very on point, because I mean, me being an 80s, 90s kid, I say a lot of that holds true. And when I say, like, for example, like the clothing, like the outfits, like the two main characters are wearing, yes, they work at this mini golf establishment, but like the sweater vest that they wear, I remember, you know, in middle school and high school, kids would wear like khaki pants, they would wear these sweater vests, and it was very much on point as what you would expect to have seen in this time that's being portrayed. So again, thought that was a very spot on approach. So while this film had horror aspects to it, specifically from the genre, I think it's also leaning into, which is the occult subgenre. I wouldn't say this film is a traditional horror film. Keep in mind, this is classified as a horror comedy, which it absolutely, as I mentioned, leans into it. Again, doesn't shy away from that fact that it seeks to achieve. It did absolutely achieve that. So again, I'm not going to go over the fact that you've heard my perspective when it comes to that. I feel if you watch this film from that perspective, again, that it's leaning into what it is, it's taking place in this 90s time frame. And if you watch this film in a silo, don't watch this film and go into it thinking you're going to compare it to other horror comedies. Don't do that. Watch it for what it is. Watch it for what the writers and the actors are trying, and the director are trying to achieve. And I think you'll find it quite enjoyable. And I think it's a nice little surprise into the horror comedy subgenre. So, and I, for one, I purchased this film in order to do the review. So I'd say I'm happy with the purchase. I'm happy to have it in my digital collection. I'm not sure if they're going to do, at least I haven't seen any news on it. I'm not sure if there's going to be a physical release. If there is, I'll probably end up adding it to my physical media collection. So, moving into more details about the film is centered around, as I mentioned, two best friends, Ben Duff and Dylan Mulligan. Interesting that his last name is Mulligan, just from the fact that they work at a mini golf place. You would understand that reference if you are a fan or know of golf. They're also as I mentioned, so they're best friends, they're co-workers at the local mini golf course, and it's also serves as an arcade as well. Something else that I think has quickly disappeared in many cities across the U.S. I know where I'm at, a lot of those types of places have completely shut down. They're non-existent. But in the 90s, which again is the time frame this is going to be happening in, those were very much popular and very relevant things that kids and teenagers did on Fridays, Saturday nights, on the weekends. That's what you would go do, right? You'd go to the arcade, you'd go to the mall and hang out, whatever. So the opening of the film gives some insight into their daily routine as they make their way around town in a golf cart, of all things. I thought that was interesting as well. They both are presented to us as best friends, that they are not not really part of the popular crowd. They're very much their own individual selves. And you can see that the chemistry they have with each other, which makes them why it makes sense they're best friends. They also come across as the ones that typically never get the girl. They're never viewed as the hero or the one that people would turn to. But I think all that, as the story moves, that quickly changes. So as the story moves, these two are obviously called upon to be those heroes that no one really expects them to be. When their mutual friend Dougie is kidnapped by Eugene, and Eugene is the leader of this demonic cult has found their home in this small town, and they've pretty much remained in the shadows up until this point. So Ben and Dylan have, really at this point have no choice but to, step up and act because again, their best friend has been taken, or not their best friend, but one of their mutual friends has been taken. So as they uncover the mysterious, the mysteries of this cult and their plans, not just for their friend Dougie, who is going to be used as this vessel for the cult's ultimate leader's soul to like take over his body. And ultimately, to destroy all those who live in this town. They also face various supernatural forces and do their best to become true Gothic Slayers, as they mention in the film. But while at the same time, they're put in situations that also test their friendship and the choices that have made thus far in their lives. So, for example, Ben, we find out about halfway through, Ben is wanting more out of life. He doesn't just want to work at this mini golf place for the rest of his life. He's been looking beyond this and beyond wanting to be more, wanting to work somewhere else. And his friend enjoys his life. He loves working at the mini golf place, loves working at the arcade, and thinks that's just the best place for the both of them to work forever. They're best friends, and again, that's just not what Ben wants. And unfortunately, Ben lets Dylan know this in not the nicest way, right? And it does hurt Dylan a bit. But they come back and they reconcile that in order to work towards the common good and common goal of, again, saving their friend, understanding, hey, while they're best friends, both their lives are going to take courses that where they're going to take them, and they in order to remain best friends, I think it's just accepting of that. So again, this is deemed as a horror comedy, but the horror aspect, as I mentioned, is not one where it's a real sense of dread or tension that's really utilized, not like jump scares, gore, things of that nature. It's not that type of horror. It does take the approach of a more lighthearted tone, which for some genre fans will either love it or you're going to hate it. The best friend duo really find their groove in the latter part of this film as they utilize the chemistry that they have as they play off of each other. As we're watching, as you think about real life best friends, or I think they kind of remind you of that. If you had a best friend growing up, the way they interact with each other, and like some of the jokes that they tell, how they mimic each other. I think it really speaks true to, again, what I remember of friends in the 80s and the 90s. That's just how kids were. So I think that their banter is one of the strongest things that the film brings to the table, leading you to believe that such an impossible situations would fall at their feet. So also, I don't want to forget though the rest of the cast. Even though much of the cast is very much unknown, I would say their performances were absolutely solid. And I say unknown probably to the wider audience. Not many people would know many of these actors or actresses. I think they're for the most part fairly young. So I think this is a great way to get them into the industry, to get their faces out there, and to potentially open doors for future projects. So they all bring to the table compelling roles, and I think that each one of them serves their role appropriately. For like whether it's Ben's younger sister, who comes across as the type of younger sister you would have, has an attitude, thinks her older brother's a dork. Ben's parents, who are absolutely oblivious to things, they just think that their little boy can do no wrong, and everything's sunshine and rainbows. Down to as you see here on the screen, the two ladies in the back, they're sisters that are part of the cult. You have the one on the left is very much like hardcore into the cult, very much like constantly like almost on edge, and the other one is more grounded, more like, is this really what I want to be doing with my life? Oh, I'm a part of this cult. So I mean, two drastically different approaches by these actresses, but again, what you would expect from this type of situation. So all that said, a couple of things I would like to call out, which could be something that I just do personally when it comes to movies, but I did notice a couple of times where the consequences of scenes didn't necessarily carry over into the immediate next one. So for example, when Ben and Dylan are attacked by these two cult sisters in Ben's house after they've managed to escape, his parents walk in, and they're thinking, oh, what's going on here? And while Ben and Dylan try to like, hey, nothing's going on here, they're like, oh, we'll stay for a meal. And they're just, the parents are just happy that they have girls in their lives. thinking that it's their girlfriends, right? So while they're at this table, again, this is where Dylan finds out Ben has been applying to other places. His mom lets that secret slip, so to speak. But there comes a point where Ben squirts ketchup all over Dylan, all over his like sweater vest. And the scene that follows that, his sweater vest, and as they leave the house to continue on, to make sure that they can save Dougie and keep the town from being destroyed, his sweater vest is clean. There's no ketchup, no nothing on it. And another example would be as later on we shift into this 90s arcade looking aspect where we see Dylan running across the roof for them to gain access into this convenience store because the front door is locked. He falls through the roof down into the store, and when he falls, he's covered in like drywall, dust, and dirt, and it's all over his face, all over his clothes, and he actually spits some of the dust out. And then when him and Ben run over to the convenience store employee who's tied up behind the counter, he's completely clean. It's as if nothing's happened to him. So again, that could just be me, my overanalyzing brain thinking, well, wait a minute, he was just dirty. Why isn't he still dirty? So just something that I think in movies, this happens across all films. It's not just this one. That I think I would like to see as those scenes shift. We see those consequences, right? We see how their battle damage, so to speak, throughout the day, throughout all the obstacles they're going through. We see that on them, whether it's their clothes, their hair, bruises, cuts, things of that nature. That we see everything they've been going through throughout the day. Not so much that something just happened to them and now the next scene they're perfectly clean and like 100% healed. And then unless that's the thought of it, because from a video game perspective they somehow got 100% healed, I don't know, but just something I thought worth pointing out. So at the end of it all, so ultimately what ends up happening is these two friends eventually obviously uncover obviously they run into Eugene. They try to save their friend. They ultimately infiltrate the cult at their hiding place, their temple, so to speak. Even though, unfortunately, after the main cult leader has taken over Dougie's body, they managed to save him and get him out through various aspects of, this is where like the supernatural powers and things come into play. And I don't know if it was so much CGI as it was other effects that were used for it, but I thought they were well done for the film. There wasn't an overabundance of CGI because, again, when we see this fighting scene start to play out, it shifts over into that 90s arcade game look, which again I thought was very clever, where they didn't necessarily have to worry about utilizing so much CGI. I mean, there was some used to show those scenes, to start those scenes up, but then it shifted right into that 90s arcade look and feel of a video game playing out, which again I thought was pretty cool. So at the end of it all, I think this will be a film again that you either enjoy for what it is and the lighthearted story and small town adventure it's telling, where the best friends come together. They ultimately save the day, they get the girls, or you're just not going to like it, right? As you have always heard me say time and time again, I'll give any movie, any TV series a chance to win me over. So I would say, if you like horror comedies, check this one out. Again, it's not your traditional horror comedy, so don't go into it thinking that. Go into it watching this film for what it is, and I think it's a very, very enjoyable film. So I do hope we get to see more, from these individuals. Like I said before, the director was Caleb Harris, and Dylan, again, if I pronounce these names incorrectly, I apologize. Dylan Eshbaugh and Ben Getz, who wrote the film, both were writers for the film and starred in the film, with the two individuals on the screen here, as you see. Again, from a scoring, I usually do my scoring out of 5. I would give this one, again, this is my personal score. This is just based on my taste of films and what I would give it. I'd say I'd give it a 3.5, maybe even a 4, because again, it's one of those films that it's very different from others in this subgenre of horror comedy that decide to take a swing at doing something different, and I appreciate that. I appreciate it's not a rinse and repeat film. It's not something that, I've seen this 5, 6, 7 other times, and now I'm just watching someone else's attempt at telling me the exact same story. It was something very different, and I always appreciate when someone wants to bring something different, a new idea to the table. So, and I will say the name Gothic Slayers, there is a video game in the film Gothic Slayers. So I did like the fact that they did actually have a game inside the movie that's the same thing, where they're trying to, that these two, when they do play it, there, one of them has like a wooden stake that they have to use as like a motion, and the other one has like this bunch of like string of garlic that they're just sitting there waving at the screen in order to kill the bad guys in the game. So I thought that was even creative as well, because old arcade games, you'd have like those guns that you'd have to hold and shoot at the screen. In this case, it's a wooden stake and garlic that they're waving at the screen. So I thought that was pretty interesting and cool. So anyways, that's my horror movie review and reaction to the film Gothic Slayers. Again, came out on March 4th, 2025 in the US. If you're international, check out your streaming platforms. Check out Amazon for your specific region. It might be there. Again, I'm not too sure. I can check that out, and what I'll do is I'll just drop a comment on the video to let you all know. I'll pin a comment to the top to let you all know. So anyways, drop a comment in the comment section. Let me know what you think. If you've seen Gothic Slayers, let me know what you think. What you thought of the film. What score did you give it out of 5? If you haven't seen it, again, I'd recommend seeing it. And once you have, come back. Let us know what you thought of it. Drop your score in there and drop a comment. And if these things don't interest you, still drop a comment in the comment section. And let me know why films like this don't interest you. I'm always like to know, what other people's tastes are versus my own. And if you haven't done so already, please like, share, and subscribe to the channel. Otherwise, we'll see you at the next one. Peace.